Hi, my name is Emily Schroeder. I am a incoming junior to John Carroll University. I have gone on an immersion as a participant my freshman year. I went to Honduras, and as a sophomore, I was a co-student coordinator for the Honduras Immersion that would have taken place this May, but with COVID, unfortunately, we were unable to go because of the safety of others. I am hoping to lead the immersion for Honduras again this year, and if we are blessed enough to be able to go, if the COVID crisis has gone down enough that it is declared safe for us to travel. Now, when it comes to immersions, I have been asked many questions by peers or by others about stories or information about my Honduras immersion, which I truly love. I love answering any question I can, as it's something that I feel has impacted my life very drastically. I have felt called to other things in my life, but never one as strong as the calling to my immersion. It was a small pull at first, but then after I came back and when I was on my trip, that changed into something that truly became a huge passion of mine, and I'm very happy to say that I feel like I've changed a lot in a good way due to my immersion. I feel like I have new information to share with others and new ways I look at my own life that I did not have before, and new determination to go back on my immersion. Not just any immersion is a great immersion, but the experience I had on my Honduras immersion was one that I really want to not only experience again, but I want to share with others and have them experience the same thing I did. Now, one of the strangest questions I was ever asked when I came back is actually one that isn't so strange. When I was talking to some girls that were floor mates of mine in my dorm this past semester, when we were talking about the whole application process for immersions, I was asked by one of the girls, "Isn't Honduras the murder capital of the world? Did you feel safe when you were there?" I actually had to pause for a moment because I was about to tell her, no, it's not. But I remember that it actually is, and I had learned this before. I knew this going into Honduras. We were even warned about how the police, like, you'll see them walking around with their rifles and everything. Don't be worried, we have security, you guys will be safe, just stick with the group. And also other regulations that we had to abide to as a group. We had to be back at the compound we were staying at by nightfall. That was one of the things that was very strict. When we had a brigade that could have been lasting later that night, we had to rush pack in order to get back in time because we had to be back in the compound by nightfall. Now, while these sound very scary and jarring as details, I have to admit that my response back to her was, no, I didn't feel unsafe. I felt actually very secure the whole time. I never really questioned my safety. Now, this isn't just because of the fact that the group we were with, was one that we've trusted for many years for the Honduras immersion, and we only go to secure villages with our security team, but it's also because when I was down there, my focus wasn't even on my safety. It was more on taking in all the beauty that was around me and also the people and the stories that were there for me to hear and absorb. And that's one of the things I feel like the immersion does, is it changes your perspective of things. I went from thinking constantly about myself to all of a sudden not even really caring about, like, oh, I gotta be on my phone, I gotta read this, I want to go do that. I instead started thinking, okay, when's our next brigade? Wonder what role will I be doing this one? Will I be talking to people? Will I be doing vitals? Will I get to observe the people in their actual visit with the doctor? Do I be passing out medications? Do I get to take a look around the villages, these people's homes? These were all questions that I had leading up to brigades because they was such a inspiration and such an excitement in me to go on them, because I learned so much with every trip I took. And I also got to be witness to amazing stories and some sad ones. Like, I got to see the impression that I got to see the impact our immersion had. Not only through things like our water filters we got to pass out, but I also got to see it in just the medications we provide. I had one brigade, I think it was my last brigade actually, where I was on intake that day, which means that I take down people's information and their medical history in order to give to the doctor, so that way they have a basis of what to look for and what to examine with the individual, what symptoms they've been feeling, etc. And we had just finished packing up everything because we were about done with all the patients we had that night. We had about 200 to 250 patients that day. And we had to start packing up because it was nearing nightfall by the time the people were going to get through with seeing the doctor and get their medications. And after we'd finally put everything away, a man came up to us and he started talking. Now, unfortunately, my Spanish isn't the best. I was a Latin scholar in high school, so I quickly got a translator, and my coordinator was with me listening to this man speak. He was asking us if it was too late for him to see a doctor. My coordinator and I were looking at each other because, like I said, we just finished packing everything away, and finally he said, let's do it. So we got the translator to help us to take down his information. As my coordinator started taking some of his vitals, I started taking the man's temperature, and we got everything done fast so we can get him right to the doctor. And one of the amazing things was that we actually have a varying few doctors, and one of them is an endocrinologist. And we took this man's blood sugar, and usually a blood sugar is within like a range of around 120. This man's came back in the high 300s. He was severely diabetic. We asked him, are you a diabetic? He goes, no, I'm not. He had no prior knowledge of his diabetes. Because of our immersion, our availability, we were able to get him to see the endocrinologist immediately. We had him jump the line and go. And because of this, he was able to get medication for the next 6 months in order to help him with this life condition he didn't even realize he had. Now, this is one of the things that's given me such a passion in order to help fundraise for our trip, in order to bring back more medication for people like him who don't know that they have diseases or different life-altering lifestyles that they didn't realize they had. And this is one of the things that I love about my immersion. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out. Like I said, my name is Emily Schroeder, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Have a blessed day.